Hello everyone, Ashley, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the issue of monitors, refresh rates, and frame rates. And I know, yeah, I might mix them up because, when you're talking, most of these things can get mixed up, especially refresh rate and frame time. Oh my god, so much stuff. But anyway, basically, okay, when you buy your monitor, they usually advertise, refresh rate, this 60 hertz, 144 hertz, 240 hertz. So what do they mean? Refresh rate is basically the number of times in a second that a display updates its buffer. So it's like refreshing, that kind of stuff. So that's where it all comes from. So with that said, that's the reason why many people are informed or informing each other that if you have a 60 hertz, monitor, then the amount of frames that you can display per second is 60 frames per second. Like that's the true FPS that you can see on a 60 hertz monitor. So today's topic is, since we know all of this, right? What happens if you can, display more than 60? Like let's say you have a powerful graphics card, but you don't have a powerful, monitor. You have like a 60 hertz, right? And your GPU is producing, let's say, 150 FPS. So that's the thing. So if your graphics card is powerful enough to produce 150 frames per second, in which frames per second is basically the frames that are being displayed on your monitor per second. So that is 60 frames per second. Okay, so that's an example, 60 frames per second. So if your computer can display 150 frames per second and you have a 60 hertz monitor, then your true FPS is 60, and then all the excess frames are being discarded and stuff like that. So people, when they learned about that information, they're like, okay, if I'm having such frames, all I have to do is just to turn on this thing and then forget about it. But there's another issue that people don't know about, which is what I want to talk about today. So if you don't have those high refresh rates, right? If you have a 60 hertz, but you're able to produce those kind of high frames, it kind of benefits you. So this is where the third aspect comes in, which is called frame time. So we have the refresh rate, we have the frame rate, and we have the frame time, which many people do not talk about. I don't even know why. Like everyone is talking about refresh rate, frame. No one talks about frame time. Only a few people talk about frame time. Of which frame time is one of the most important things when it comes to gaming, especially online gaming. Frame time is, oh my god, it's huge. It's important. Okay, so what is frame time? So frame time, it shows you whether your frames are being delivered at a consistent interval within a second. So for example, if we take 60 frames per second, we're basically saying 60 frames are being displayed in a second. So each and every frame is being displayed after 16 milliseconds. That's basically dividing one frame divided by 60. So one frame is being displayed so that's your frame time, basically the time between each and every frame. So imagine pictures, imagine what happens with the slideshow, your pictures are sliding and stuff like that, right? So the rate at which you're sliding the pictures is kind of like frame rate in a way. Like you're sliding 60 pictures per second. That's kind of fast. But anyway, so the time between, when you slide the first picture, the second picture, that is the frame time. So what happens now is when you're playing a game, let's say for example you're playing Grand Theft Auto or whatever, there are some areas which are a bit heavy for the graphics card to produce at that consistent rate, and then you get the drop. That's where your FPS dips down from 60 to 40 and then goes back up to 60 and stuff like that. So in those moments, the time that it takes, let's say it goes from 60 to 40. So now from 60 milliseconds, it will take even more time to display the frames. That's why you see it gets laggy and you feel slow. That's what will be happening. So with that said, even though you have a 60 hertz monitor, right, of course display, it'll be displaying like 60 frames, of course, but in terms of responsiveness, it'll be more responsive on higher frames. Like we calculated, if you are having, let's say, 150 frames, that'll be less frame time, because a lot of frames are being produced within a second. So the responsiveness is really, really good. I actually decided on this by mistake. What happened was I was playing Battlefield Hardline. Okay, I was playing Battlefield Hardline, and I used MSI Afterburner to limit the frame rate to 50 FPS, because that's what my laptop can handle. Okay, so I was playing Hardlines. So after I played Hardlines, I decided to jump into Kovac, train a bit, play some games, and then in Kovac I get 300 FPS. It's super light. So I play Kovac on I think Tower Frenzy, 300 FPS. So I was playing, reach my high score and stuff like that. But in this particular case, I could not reach my high score. It was so hard. I felt like my mouse was heavy. It was really bad, and I just felt like, oh, maybe I'm just bad today and stuff like that. But then I noticed that my frames, it was 50 FPS, right? It was 50 FPS, and then I'm like, okay, I forgot to turn off my limiter. So I opened up MS Afterburner, turned off my FPS limiter, so I'm back at 300 FPS. And the surprising thing is, I was able to get back to my high score again. I was able to get to my high score, my average score. Everything was back to normal. So that experience confused me, because I was like, people are always telling me that there's no use for you to get crazy frames and you have a 60 hertz monitor. Just cap it to 60. But then this experience got me thinking, like, why am I performing bad on 50 FPS? But then when I switched it back to 300 FPS, even though I'm on a 60 Hz monitor, it felt way more responsive, it felt faster, it felt smoother. Just the feeling of my mouse, it felt way better, So that's when I realized about this frame time thing. Like, frame time really affects your performance. So this is what I'm trying to say, that even if you have a 60 Hz monitor, it will give you a little bit of benefit, to just uncap. That's why people, if you see all those guys, how to fix lag, they usually say turn off VSync. That's what they're trying to do. If you turn on VSync, your frame time will be high. It will be linked to 60 FPS, and the frame time on 60 FPS is 16 milliseconds. It's a lot. You need to be at least 10 milliseconds and below. Those are the higher refresh rates, like 144, 240 and stuff like that. So basically, that's why when you upgrade your monitor from 60 to 120 and 144 and stuff like that, you feel the difference. So the difference now, am I saying it's not necessary to upgrade? No. Just listen to me now. What I'm saying is, to make it simple, gaming experience, we have visuals and we have the controls. So getting a higher refresh rate monitor, like a 144 Hz, will help your visual, because you'll be seeing true 144, and it will also help your controls. But if you have a 60 Hz monitor or playing on higher frame rates, it won't benefit your visuals. You still, it'll be like 60 frames being displayed, right? But your controls will be way more responsive. That's the benefit. So in the meantime, before you upgrade, this is how it happens. You can play on high refresh rate, and you can try what I'm saying. If you are used to playing a certain game on high frames per second, let's say 100 frames, and you have 60 Hz, turn down those frames. Turn them down to like 40, 50. Oh my god, you feel it. You're like, oh shit, this is super stuff. It's crazy. So basically, that's how this all works. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, guys.